and they don't want Scoot. They want to trade the pick. They do not want Scoot. They wanted Brandon Miller really bad in Portland at pick 3. You should fight with them, preferably next Wednesday at 4 p.m.
Dusty and Danny need to get fired.
You want Scoot?
Yes. I want him more than anything in life, actually. You're never going to get a talent of this caliber if you're Portland, ever. Like, never. Damian Lillard, because he went to Weber State and not Kentucky or wherever, if he went to any blue chip school, there was no chance he was going 6 overall. He would have been a number 1, number 2 pick. Like, we haven't had a pick that was a possibility to get a number 1, number 2 overall pick in, like, Portland's history since Michael Jordan. Like, that has not been the case.
Yeah.
So you're getting a guy who's going to be transcendent. And as soon as I talk to my folks, they're clearly not plugged in. They're just hanging on to the Damian Lillard sweepstakes. They're just hanging on to, like, Damian Lillard's the best Blazer of all time. Honestly, I love Damian Lillard. He's my favorite Blazer ever. He's my favorite Blazer over Clyde Drexler, which is the whole reason that I became a Portland Trail Blazer fan to begin with.
Yeah.
He's over Bill Walton. He's over Sabonis. He's over
Jermaine O'Neal.
He's
Damon
over
Stoudemire.
J.R. Reiter. Damon Stoudemire. I know I love J.R. Reiter a lot.
I was going to say.
He's over all of them. Brandon Roy, all of them. But Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe will be the most explosive, athletic backcourt, maybe not just in Blazer history, but in NBA history. I know I talk about superlatives. Like, you're talking about a guy who could be better than John Morant. He's bigger than John Morant.
Yeah.
He's more explosive than John Morant at that size. His hands are the size of Michael Jordan's. Like, he's a guy who's got incredible leaping ability and the ability to play make. Getting the ball to Shaedon Sharpe to be able to get buckets, that two-man duo, when Damian Lillard decides to retire, I don't care what Damian Lillard wants. That combo is what we need. This is it, folks. This is it.
All right, Mel.
I don't know if the Cam Whitmore stuff is smokescreen, like they talked about some injuries, but he had an injured thumb. Like, I mean, it's not like it's a knee or a back. So I have heard some people say that it might be smokescreen there. I would still take him at number 5. I mean, I would even take Cam at number 4 if Houston brings James Harden along. I just don't think Harden and Thompson would be the best. Would be the best fit. But no, I think it's smokescreen. I think he's still in the mix at 5. The Jarris Walker talk is interesting because Detroit, their roster is already unbalanced as is. I mean, of course, they can make some moves, but adding another 4, 5 to Detroit's roster would be very interesting.
I mean, I have to go back to the whale. I am not going to hop off the Ricky Fowler train. It was devastating last week when he led all 3 rounds for the first 3 rounds, and then he just could not close. And it's understandable. He hasn't been in this position in a really long time, but what he's doing with this game right now is just, it's pretty remarkable to see. Scottie Scheffler's going to get all the attention, rightfully so, but Fowler has had a complete 180 in his game from 2022 season to now. He missed half of the cuts that he played last year, and now every week he's in contention to win a title. So, I mean, it's a really big deal what he's doing, and I'm not hopping off that train. You're getting plus money for a top 20 and 40-1 for an outright. That was instantly one of the bets that I made.
Do you think that the reason that price is what it is like that feeling by Vegas of like a lose in the last round hangover, 5 over on Sunday?
Not necessarily. I believe it has to do with his Travelers Championship course history. He has 3 missed cuts here, and he's only been here 5 times. Back-to-back years, he's missed the cut. But as mentioned, he's not the same player that he was last year. He's not the same player that he was 2 years ago. He switched his grip. He switched his clubs. He switched caddy. Like, he's done a lot of change to his swing overall that he's no longer the same player that he was last year that he is now. And you're seeing the results come to fruition. He has all these top 20 finishes. He has all of these top 10 finishes, 3 straight top 10s. So I think it's being mismarketed because of his course history. And we always like to say horses for courses, but I think he's just a much better player now. You kind of have to ride that wave by default.
I think his range starts at 10, and I think that's a very real, distinct possibility. The problem with that, again, is that Dallas's pick has been known to be on the market now for quite a while. And I think they're going to take it down to draft night and decide what the best deal is, or they're going to take it down to draft night and decide maybe, if Taylor Hendricks falls, maybe they do love Dereck Lively, make a decision at number 10 on what to do. I think that, if they do move that pick, the three names that I've heard the most in terms of teams potentially trying to come up and get are Dereck Lively, Bilal Coulibaly, and Kobe Buffkin, because other teams believe that those three names are likely to go somewhere 11 to 14. So I think there is a pretty real chance that a team could move up for Lively at 10, or Dallas could take him at 10. But I think his range starts at 10, is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I think if New Orleans, this is me talking to people, right? If New Orleans were in a market where they felt like they had a free agency collateral, political capital in the NBA to get guys, they might look for value. And they love Scoot Henderson. As I understand it, like the Pelicans, David Griffin, right? It's Griff, loves Scoot and thinks they could build around him. But they face the same dilemma that Portland's faced for years and waiting too long to move on from TJ McCollum and obviously Damian Lillard's still there and other small markets. They can attract talent to that city. And it's not a shot at New Orleans. It's not a shot at Portland. They're great cities. NBA players don't want to live there. They just don't. I mean, you've had two generational talents in Chris Paul and Anthony Davis be there in the last, 15, 20 years, and they're not there anymore. And that is, I think, one of the important parts of the framework of the thinking in New Orleans. Zion can't stay on the floor. He can't stay healthy. But they saw what happened when he played a little bit this past year. If I remember right, guys, they were first in the Western Conference at some point in January. Their upside, their ceiling was amazing when he was on the floor. They can't ever bring a talent like that in. They just can't. So they're probably going to stick with them, even though, as I understand it, and this is what GMs do, right? They have conversations. But there have been some real thought experiments about maybe we should move on from him. Married people sometimes are like, maybe I should divorce my wife or husband. Doesn't mean they're going to do it. But if you have that thought with your buddy over a beer, if you're like, shh, but what do you think? That's not great. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think that's the place they were at with Zion.
It depends on maybe how he feels about Damian Lillard, and I think when the Pelicans are looking at this, they're not too concerned, and this is where a deal might get derailed on this, right? He's under team control for 5 more years. His extension kicks in. There's no player option at the end of that. He doesn't really have a choice in the matter, I think. And if you're Portland, though, you're weighing that. Is he going to be happy playing here? Is all of the off-court stuff around him enough to kind of call off the deal or maybe make the Pelicans include more in this? So how do you value Zion Williamson and what his desires are if he does want to play in a bigger market? And I think that's where a deal might get derailed. There's going to be breaking points for both sides here, I think. And maybe the price for Scoot Henderson is too rich for the Pelicans and they walk away from it. Or maybe Damian Lillard, who's actively involved in this, right, looks at the maybe lack of professionalism, we should say, with Zion Williamson, and Dame holds his guys and players on that team to a very high standard. And if he doesn't think Zion Williamson's going to reach that, everything could kind of fall apart from it. So I don't know if Zion would love it. I think a change of scenery is something he might like. He did go to Portland to rehab the foot injury that kept him out all of last season with Nike's headquarters up there. Maybe that factors into it a little bit too, but I don't really think it's up to him at this point.
Couple years ago, who knew Joe Burrow was going to be a finalist, let alone, put together a record-breaking season for LSU? We did bet that. But, yeah, I mean, it's tough. And, if you wait, you could get better prices, rather than betting it preseason. Right now, for example, Caleb Williams to repeat, he's plus 500. I don't really want to bet Caleb Williams, but I could easily see Caleb Williams repeating, even though it hasn't been done in forever, just because he's going to put up numbers. They're bringing back a bunch of talent at USC. He loses guys, he loses Jordan Addison, but you got Lincoln. I mean, they're going to be money there. I like Jordan Travis, so that was 10-1. It's back up to 12-1, so I'd play that right now. Jordan Travis plus 1,200. I still liked him at 10-1. They bring back 8 starters on the offensive side of the ball at Florida State. They were 16th in the nation in scoring last year. They averaged 36 points per game, 10th in total offense, 484 yards per game, and I think they're going to be even better. Also, you have a really good quarterback, and they're bringing back all 5 offensive linemen. They probably have the best offensive line in the entire nation, Florida State does. And Travis, last year was kind of insane because he didn't look very good those first couple of years. He threw 25 touchdown passes and only threw 5 picks. I haven't seen a jump like that in forever. And you have Johnny Wilson at wide receiver. He's 6'7", caught 45 balls last year and had a couple touchdowns. His problem is drops. but I think he'll have a bounce back year. You have Trey Benson back at the running back position, rushed for 990 yards last year and 9 touchdowns, 6 yards per carry, but could also catch the ball out of the backfield. Everybody's hyping up Florida State. You look at their schedule. I mean, LSU scares me, obviously, week 1, but defensively they don't scare me a whole lot. He's going to put up numbers. I bet the over in that game. Other than that, it's really only Clemson that scares me for Florida State on that schedule. So I think he's going to put up big numbers, and I like the price 12-1. I took a flyer on Marvin Harrison Jr. at 25-1 just because. So it's usually a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Caleb Williams last year, Bryce
When was the
Young
last
the year
time it
before
was
that.
not a quarterback?
2020, it was Devontae Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Put
Yeah.
together that ridiculous season for Alabama, another wide receiver. But before that, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, 2015, Derrick Henry. So since 2015, there's only been 2 non-quarterbacks to win the award. And you have to have a pretty ridiculous season. It's Devontae Smith and it's Derrick Henry, probably the best back we've seen come out of the draft in the last, 8 years. Because really, what the voters are looking for, you need to win double-digit games usually. You got to be on a 10-win team. You got to put together ridiculous stats, obviously. And I could see Marvin Harrison Jr. doing that because Ohio State, even though they lose C.J. Stroud, I think they'll be fine at the quarterback position. He was a redshirt junior in 2022, and he had 77 receptions, over 1,000 yards receiving, and 14 touchdowns. He was first in the Big Ten, 4th in all of college football. I think he could put together better numbers than that. Coming back this year, even without C.J. Stroud, because you have Kyle McCord, who I do like, taking over at the quarterback position. And, that – so Ryan Day is going to feel the pressure this year. They've lost to Michigan 2 straight years. And I think that people, expect this drop-off from Ohio State. I think there's really 3 top-heavy teams in the Big Ten. It's Michigan, it's Ohio State, and then it's Penn State. I wouldn't be shocked if Penn State was able to win the Big Ten. I like Wisconsin. But I just don't think that they're a college football playoff contender this year.
Right.
So I don't really think there's going to be a huge drop off without Stroud moving on to McCord. And 25-1 is a really nice price. If he were to do it, he'd be the second wide receiver since 2000 to do it. That's the only scary thing, and that was Devontae Smith, who won it in 2020. That year, he had 117 receptions, 1,800 yards, and 23 touchdowns. So that's kind of the numbers that you have to put up, and that's the scary thing if you are playing a wide receiver. That's why the price is 25-1. So I'm going to go, I should say, Jordan Travis 12-1, Marvin Harrison 25-1, and I also like Michael Penix Jr. plus 1,400, 14-1. Washington last year.
He started off very hot.
He was awesome. I mean, and they were the best offense in the Pac-12. I think they have a shot to win the Pac-12 this year. They have a strong running game. For him, he just has to stay healthy. His first 3 years at Indiana, he couldn't stay on the field. And then last year, he put up ridiculous numbers because Kalen DeBoer allows you to push the ball down the field. I think what really would help his case is if he uses his legs a little bit more. If we could get 550 to 700 rushing yards, he puts up identical numbers that he did through the air. He stays healthy for the entire season. I think Washington's a lock to win at least 10 games. Their win total's over 9.5 this year.
Yeah.
If they win the Pac-12, I think he gets a look. Even if Caleb Williams puts up similar numbers that he did. The last one I would play right now is 80-1, and it's a running back. Again, the last time we saw this, 2015, it was Derrick Henry. I would go Braylon Allen, especially if you're as high on Wisconsin as I am. I think Wisconsin, at worst, I said today, 11-1 is my prediction. I think they only lose to Ohio State, and I think their basement is 10-2. I can't find another loss. You get Iowa at home. That's your biggest game in the West. Maybe they get upset at Camp Randall. I don't know. But if they win 10 games and Braylon Allen's able to put up the same numbers that he did 2 years ago, even if you load the box, he had over 900 rushing yards. He's great after first contact. I could see them maybe using him a little bit more in the passing game, now that you actually have a passing game. And 80-1 is a really nice price for a Wisconsin running back. They have a really good offensive line. They always do. And again, it's nothing that we haven't seen before. 2015, it's been a long time, but that's the way that I would go. So at quarterback, I would go Jordan Travis, 12-1, Michael Penix Jr., 14-1, wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., 25-1, Braylon Allen, 80-1, and then my hopes for Caleb Williams are USC, cupcake schedule to start the season, some blowout games. Maybe he only plays a half, throws 3 touchdown passes. In the first half, has 6 touchdown passes going into week 3, and we could get a better number than 5-1. Because I think he could be the first person to do it in a long time since Archie Griffin to repeat as Heisman Trophy winner. So I don't hate Caleb Williams as a play, but I just don't want to bet it at plus 500. And that's why I don't really love this market. Because, like, if you look at the leaderboard, all the guys you want to bet, you're not going to get great prices with. Jordan Travis, 12-1. Drake Mays, 14-1.
Yeah, I was wondering what you thought about that.
So I do like that, but the problem is, again, you got to win, 10 games. And I don't know if North Carolina is going to be able to do that this year. ACC gets a little bit better. They don't have the toughest schedule, but their defense is brutal.
Yeah.
And I don't think they get any better. They only bring back 5 starters on the defensive side of the ball. But I think Drake May is going to put up big numbers. He might even end up being the number 1 overall quarterback taken in the draft. He might be the number 1 pick over Caleb Williams. He's 6'5". Caleb Williams is only 6'1". Some people have him on the board over Caleb Williams. I would take Caleb Williams over Drake May. I don't hate the price. I could see Carolina being a 7-win football team.
That's what I was wondering about as well.
That's why I would stay away from that one. Quinn Ewers is a really popular pick. His numbers are moving. He's all the way down to 11-1. Texas is the most talented team in the
Would you do anything there?
I wouldn't.
Just because you don't like the price?
Yeah, I would want a better price, and I want to see him actually stay healthy.
I don't actually know if I believe in Quinn Ewers, yet.
Like, what if he struggles to start?
And what if you end up getting Arch in there?
I mean, you got Arch Manning. Like, they're so loaded at every single position. And that's the other thing. They lose Bijan Robinson. They might be like a better rushing offense this year, as crazy as that sounds. They don't have a weakness on that entire team. So I would want a better price for Quinn Ewers. I haven't seen enough, but I think Texas is going to be really good this year.